Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Flying solo here as of the moment. We'll have most likely a full house. Jacob, Tim, and Emilio are going to be joining us. We just want to get this party kicked off a little bit early. I see the chat is already lit up. Hopefully everybody had an awesome day out there on this glorious May the 27th on the eve of some more Packer OTAs. Obviously, we got a mandatory minicamp coming up in June. We got some Jaire Alexander news that I don't want to say it's breaking news, but it's a couple more pieces to the puzzle put in place in terms of will Jaire be a Green Bay Packer this year or not? You know, I've seen a lot of people that are treating it like it's good news. Others saying it's absolute nothing burger. I think it's right there somewhere in the middle, to be honest with you. We'll hit that. We'll also do a deep dive into the Green Bay Packers defense in 2024 and kind of talk about what they did well, what they did not so well, the same as we did with the offense. Got really, really good feedback from those shows here lately as well. But we got Jacob joining us here. I do want to give a quick shout out tonight to the awesome folks over at My Autism Connection, someone we partnered up with here for the month of June, for the month of May and June. Obviously, My Autism Connection, building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. And what we've done here, guys, is we've created a giveaway, special giveaway in honor of Mac. And here's how it's going to work. Anybody who wants to donate to this awesome foundation, we've got a link pinned on my Twitter profile, okay, at Packers_access. It's you'll see the link there. It says givebutter.com/KRPSJ5. What you want to do is any donation that you make, just attach PTA to your name. That way we know you donated in honor of Packers Total Access. And what we will do is we're going to put everybody's name on the wheel, the Larry McCarron pinky wheel, spin that sucker, and we're going to give away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. So again, just another way for us to kind of give back and help raise some money for a great cause. I see some of the Mac folks in the chat tonight. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Hopefully, got to be careful in that chat. It gets out of hand in there sometimes. So Jacob's usually the person who drives that outrage, by the way. But how you doing, Jacob?
Well, I mean, first of all, that's not true. As you guys know, I'm the pinnacle of professionalism, clearly. I'm doing all right. Where's we got no Tim, no Emilio? Where they?
Yeah, they should be in here shortly. I'm assuming that I think Tim was expecting us to go live at 7 Central, and I went a little early. I'm trying to go a little earlier each evening, guys. It's a little bit easier for me. And, yeah, I think it's worked out pretty well. We've gotten some good feedback about that as well. I think everybody's old like I am. You know what I mean? They just want to get in bed a little bit earlier. So, yeah, they should be in here shortly. But we'll get this party kicked off without them, Jacob. Anything you want to hit on? We're going to dive into the Jaire Alexander update that we got today, as well as the defensive deep dive, kind of like what we did with the offense yesterday. Anything you want to hit on before we get into that stuff?
Honestly, there's not much I can think of right now. Let's just get into it.
All right. We did have a quick question here. Elijah Gwynn, $100, just 20 names on the wheel. That's what I was thinking about doing, is like for every $5 somebody donates, you get your name on there once. It's a lot more legwork, but I think we could pull that off. So, yeah, I think that's the way we're going to go there, Elijah, for sure, just to kind of give a little bit extra incentive for people who want to donate a little bit more to that awesome cause. So, we got Tim jumping in here in a second. You take your time, Tim. No rush at all, buddy. It's been too long since we've seen you. There he is. Look at the man, the myth.
How many times are you going to come to my press conference late?
Oh, man. I don't know if he did that to himself or if that was you, Jacob.
No, that was all me. What's up, guys?
Uh-oh, Tim. We got mic problems, brother, man.
Uh-oh.
I'm hearing my voice echo. God, it sounds horrible, too, let me tell you. And then it sounds like your mic may not be picking up. So we'll let you sort that out here, man. You go ahead and do your thing. I'm going to remove you while you do it. You see if you can figure it out. All right, Jacob, let's jump into the Jaire talk here real quick. All right, Tim obviously rushing in here trying to get everything set back up. He's been out taking care of way more important stuff than us for sure. So, Jacob, was there anything you wanted to hit on? I think I asked you. Did you say no? You good?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's get into the Jaire talk. And again, everybody's reacting differently with this. And too old for this. Is Joe Barry running this show with the comms issues? Let's try it again, Tim. How we doing, man?
Doing good. How's that? You guys hear me?
Perfect.
That sounds great.
Sound better?
No echo at all. We're good. We're good to go, man. How you been, Tim? Talk to me, man.
Good, man. Just catching up on everything, man. Catching up on sleep, catching up on pods. Great work, man. Was kind of off the grid for a while, but happy to be back, man.
I was going to say, it seems like everything went good with the PO, right? I mean, the parole officer, you're good to go, right? Got the
yeah. I'm allowed to leave the state again. Everything is all squared away. No ankle monitor. Jacob gets off his ankle monitor in a few weeks, so we'll be able to hang out together. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
All right, man. Let's do it. Let's get it. We haven't talked Jaire since you left, and the first day you're back, we're talking Jaire. Yeah. You're gonna love this, man. So nothing has really changed him until today. I guess there's a couple little details that came down the pike. Let's just dive into it real quick. I put an article together based off the information I gathered from Matt Schneidman and Jason Wilde earlier today, and just titled it "Jaire Alexander's future with the Green Bay Packers remains uncertain as contract talks continue." So here's what we got. All right. A significant development has emerged in the ongoing offseason saga surrounding Jaire Alexander, though his contract status with the Green Bay Packers remains unresolved. According to a source with knowledge of the situation, as reported by Matt Schneidman of The Athletic, the Packers have proposed a restructured contract to Alexander, signaling their interest in retaining the two-time All-Pro cornerback. The moves come after an offseason in which the team has been open to trading the 28-year-old, who has 2 years left on a record-setting 2022 contract extension worth $21 million annually. However, Alexander and his agent John Thornton of Rock Nation have yet to agree to the proposed restructuring. Alexander has expressed a desire to remain in Green Bay, but his participation in team activities could become complicated. He plans to attend the Packers' mandatory minicamp in June, and I heard Wilde say maybe even earlier, okay? But without a restructured contract, there's a possibility the team may not allow him to participate in team drills. The Packers are cautious about the risk of injury, which could guarantee Alexander's salary for the season if he were to get hurt. Matt Schneidman reported earlier today that he does not anticipate Alexander practicing without a new deal in place, but did not mention the reason for that would be the Packers protecting themselves, not Jaire. So that final piece there, I kind of put the two and two together based off of the contractual talks and obligations the Packers have with Jaire. If he gets hurt, it sounds like the salary portion of that's going to be fully guaranteed if he gets hurt while in the facility. So what you've got here is a little, I don't want to say cat and mouse, but it's complicated. The Packers want him back for the right price, right? And what they want to do is adjust that contract to where if he isn't on the field, if he isn't healthy, they're going to recoup a good chunk of that money back, right? So here's what we come down with, all right? As negotiations continue, two pieces of the puzzle have been confirmed. The Packers have now offered Jaire a restructured contract expected to be more team-friendly. Now, the last we heard that had not taken place. The Packers said they hadn't offered it. Jaire's camp had confirmed they had not offered it, according to Rob Demovsky. And the second piece of this is Alexander has not signed that restructure, but does want to remain in Green Bay, according to Matt Schneidman. But I mean, and I don't know if Matt Schneidman got that directly from his camp, but that's what his article said. All right. However, if he refuses to sign the restructure, that could force the Packers to release him. All right. So let me paint a picture for you here. He's saying, I don't want my contract restructured. Right? I want to play on the contract that I've got. Okay, the Packers are going, we don't want you at that contract because we want to be able to get some of that money back if indeed you're not on the field. And there's been some muddy water over the last few years on how these contracts, and I'm sure there's fine detail and it's different in every contract that's signed. You know, in most cases, the base salary isn't guaranteed if you get hurt. You got to pay a portion of that back, right? Well, in this case, according to Jason Wilde and Mark Tauscher, who was a former player rep, it is guaranteed if he gets hurt. So you've got Alexander going, I'm just going to show up. Guys, they can't prevent him from showing up. Now, they can prevent him from participating in activities and they still pay him his bonus. But they can't tell him, hey, you're under contract, but you're not allowed to come here. That's against the CBA. So he's – and some fans are trying to look at this like, yeah, Jaire wants to be a Packer. He wants to get back in there and get to work. Really, in all honesty, what's probably happening is Jaire's going, hey, guys, you're going to have to make a decision sooner or later. And he's kind of forcing their hand a little bit. That's what it feels like to me on the latter. So if he comes into camp and they say, no, you're not participating, it's basically going to be is him doing what they call a hold in, right? But what's weird is it's not him holding in. It's the Packers holding in, if that makes sense. So I just want to say this, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you guys. There's a lot of fans out there that get mad at players when they do hold-ins. Are you going to get mad at the team for doing a similar thing? Because it needs to be fair both ways. And that's why when it comes to these contract negotiations, these contract rebuttals, I guess is the right way of putting it, it can get a little choppy. And that's why I try to look at both sides. I don't try to be just player friendly. I don't try to be just team friendly. I can understand both sides of this. And Jaire may use that showing up as a little bit of leverage to try to get that deal sweetened a little bit more than the current offer that they've provided him. If he comes in and says, I'm not touching his contract, and they say, okay, stay away, stay away, stay away, guess what? Sooner or later, they got to make the decision to just cut him outright. And I think that's honestly what Jaire wants outside of playing under the new contract. His first choice, I think, is he wants to play under the current contract. And if they're not willing to do that, then he wants to be released. That's kind of what it feels like to me. That's me, the dumb redneck fan, reading between the lines. Jacob, you have the floor, sir. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a kind of a weird situation, double-edged sword type of situation where like you said, I think it's clear that Ja wants to play. I think he's realized that maybe his market value wasn't quite what he thought it was, when he started testing these waters. I think that two things can be true at once. I think that the Packers front office probably could have handled this a tad bit better. I definitely think Jaire's team could have handled this a tad bit better. And like you said, now he has the proverbial water, what, to someone's head saying, you guys want me back? All right, I'm coming back. And then the front office is saying, hey, hold up, bub, hold up. If you were to come in here, and I don't think that Ja would do this, but Ja comes back and goes, oh no, I got my turf toe. You know what I mean? Like, I guess you'll have to pay me all that guaranteed money. Obviously with the doctors and the way that the medical field works, I don't know if you could necessarily
be that easy, right?
Get to fake an injury. It's not like staying home from school. So it is a weird situation.
On that note, Jacob, not to cut you off, but on that note, if he were to do something like that, and again, we're not saying Ja would do that, but if he were to do something like that, the team could determine, the doctors could determine, hey, he's not really hurt, and now it becomes conduct detrimental to the team, which voids that conduct.
I was just going to say, I think that they could find that basically null and void that contract. COVID toe. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We saw it for sure. I want him back. I think our team's going to be much better just with the way that I'm so excited about some of the young talent, some of the pieces we have in that secondary specifically, even without Ja, which again, I don't want, but without Ja, I think that we still have a pretty good solid cornerback room. With Ja, boy, we could have ourselves something special. We really could. And that's where I'm starting to just, and obviously we know Tim's stance. He ain't skipped a beat, basically. I would, and I used to push back, you know what I mean, a little bit, because I just didn't like the drama. I didn't like the look it did for 1265. But now, all things being considered, I want Ja back, man. I'm ready to give him that money. What I would suggest is there any way to restructure and again just be an incentive-based contract? You know
that's what the Packers are trying to do, but Ja doesn't want to do that, and rightfully so.
And I don't blame him.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So, Tim, sir, I know you've waited weeks to talk about this topic, so you have before.
I'm gonna just play devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm gonna reiterate a point that you've made once or twice on this show, Clayton. Usually when 1265 makes an offer, that's their offer. There isn't a follow-up or a back and forth. Here's what we're offering, right?
Yeah.
So if Ja doesn't sign this restructured deal here in Green Bay and tries to quote unquote force the hand and make them cut him, Ja's going to end up playing on a restructured deal somewhere else.
Right.
Either way. So
exactly. I think Holmes said right here, Tim. It's exactly what Holmes said. I think Ja is silly to turn down the offer. He's not going to get more on the market, in my opinion.
And we don't know the specifics, but I'm assuming whatever was offered is probably significantly less, but not as significantly less as what he might get, going to another team on the market. So I think I'm just going to hold out to hope and think positive and think that maybe Ja and his representation just needs some time to digest the restructured details of the proposal, and maybe we get news that breaks that Ja just signs the deal and we put all this to bed and go after a Lombardi, man.
When this first broke today, Tim, that's what I was hoping was happening. And
Yeah.
to see everybody's reaction on Twitter, I got duped right into it. I'm like, yeah, there we go. We're there now. We're there. He's going to, and I thought the same thing you thought, Jacob, like this DB room going to be sick. This is awesome, especially if Ja's healthy, right? But then got a little later into the day and I read the article myself and then I heard Wildy's reaction to it as well. And I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing this exactly how Wildy's seeing it. Like, this feels more of a Ja trying to push the envelope a little bit. Like, all right, yeah, I'm coming to minicamp. You know what it reminded me of? And I had a horrible, horrible flashback. Remember when Brett Favre showed up at family night that year? Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, crap, he's in the building. Yeah. And it was stormy over Lambeau Field and everything. It was just the perfect setting. You could see him getting off the plane. And, oh, man.
You could see the look on AR-12's face when it happened.
Yeah. Exactly. And I would never forget fans booing Aaron Rodgers in that family night, too. I was just like, what are we doing?
That was a rough look.
It was a bad look. Very bad look. But again, man, hey, everybody fan how you want a fan. It is what it is. And I would say I was on the organization side during that. I still am, I think they made the right move there. Obviously, looking back, they made the right move. I think we would all agree going to Aaron away from Brett. But at the time, we not even knowing how good Aaron was going to be, I agreed with the team because he changed his mind 3 times at one offseason.
Yeah. I was just going to say that it's not the same situation, obviously, but you get to a point where it's, am I coming back? Am I not coming back? It's like Packer fans are just, we're not really into that anymore, man. We've been callous to that type of behavior. So I'd understand.
Yeah, people out there working on the farm, working in the boat yard. They're,
working on a pole.
Yeah, exactly, Jacob, doing real work over there at the office. And then you're going to look up and go, all right, this guy really going to buck this bad here and wishy-washy back and forth. I get it. Completely get it. So anyway, I hope he's back. And as a Packer fan, selfishly, I hope he's back on a restructured deal too, because their only complaint with Jaire the last few years is he just couldn't stay healthy. And if that deal does get reworked, the cap hit isn't going to be near as bad if he doesn't stay healthy. You want him to be there on the field for all 17 games, right? Or 16 games, however many you're playing. Like you want him on the field every single snap. But if he's not on the field, obviously you want to recoup as much of that cap as you can. So, all right. Anything else on that, boys? We feel good about it?
I don't know if feeling good's the word, but yeah.
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
There you go. All right, let's get into the second topic of the night here, and that is talking defense, specifically the rankings from the 2024 season. Tim, I don't know if you got a chance to catch up on any of the podcasts. If I were you, I would do something way, way more productive than listen to us talk ball, to be honest with you. However, we've done some extensive deep dives into the offense and defense. We covered scoring on both sides of the ball. Last night, we covered a deep dive into the offensive side where it was just kind of the key statistics, yards per play, passing yards per play, running yards per play, all that stuff. Now we're going to get into the defensive side of the ball, so you show back up just in time. Let's get into it here. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how well this defense played last year. All right, below is a breakdown of the 2024-2025 Green Bay Packers defensive rankings. Let's start with team opponent yards per play. We finished 5th in the league, only allowing 5.2 yards per play as a defense. Gentlemen, that is a top 5 defense, officially a top 5 defense. Now, when you look from the year before, they were sitting at 5.4. So you got better, not by a whole lot, but if you use last year's 5.4 to this year's standard, you would have finished tied for 13th. So that's the difference Jeff Hafley made last year, was going from 13th in opponent yards per play all the way up to 5th. Jacob, that catch you off guard at all?
It kind of did. So technically, aren't we? We're in 4th, right? Tied for 4th because they got the little tie there between the Jets and Denver. Like that, I would not have guessed that we were actually. I mean, I think it's a
we'd be 5th. Just to correct you, yeah, we'll be 5th. The Jets they're tied for 2nd and 3rd, so one of them's got to be 3rd.
I got you. Okay.
So, not that it matters.
It is an interesting metric, man. I mean, you look at what's the teams were surrounded there: Philly, Jets, Denver, Houston, Green Bay, Baltimore, San Fran. That's a pretty impressive grouping there. And like you said, we improved from last year. Obviously, down the stretch, when you look at the last 3 games and the last 1 game, not necessarily the type of improvement that you see with certain other teams that actually went on and, went further into the playoffs. But you look at that home record too versus away. For the first time in a while, it does feel like that we finally are starting to get back that home field advantage that have for a long time just doesn't feel the same like it was in the 90s and the 2000s,
Now, I agree, Tim. That's something that stood out to me when going through these rankings. It did feel like the defense played better at home. Now, the offense seemed to play a little better on the road, I believe, but the defense really showed up at home this year. What do you think about these opponent yards per play, man?
Yeah, no, that's a great point that Jacob just made there. And playing better at home is something that I've complained about a lot in the last few seasons about teams just coming into Lambeau and boat racing us. It's something that's got to stop. And I think last year was the first step in the right direction. Other than a few boo-boos at home, other than that, they played really well, extremely well. And I would anticipate that this defense is going to hang around. Whether it's points per play, yards per play, whatever, we're going to hang around somewhere in that top 5 to top 10 range, I think, with Hafley. Although there is truth to the sophomore slump logic, second year as a coordinator. You've mentioned this before, Clayton. There's more on tape for teams to scheme against. So it's really going to be up to Coach Hafley and his staff as to how they're going to disguise some of these looks and get creative with new looks and utilize this defense to its full potential. We've got some new pieces to play with this year, so I'm excited to hopefully not seeing a sophomore slump, but a year 2 in a Hafley system, kind of a big step forward for this team.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, opponent yards per game, they were actually 4th, allowing 313.2 yards per game. Guys, that's a significant jump from the previous year where they had 345.4. To put that into perspective, 345.4 to put you in the 22nd spot on this list, 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. Instead, the Packers are 4th at 313.2. Ahead of them, the Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans, and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, who were dominant at 288.6. Now, it's easy to look at last year with the Packers and say, man, that was that Joe Barry bend but don't break quarters coverage, right? Well, Vic Fangio running it in Philadelphia, he had the best defense in the league. Now, it's a lot more versatile than people want to give it credit for. They think that if you run a Fangio-style defense, you're just playing with 2 on the shelf at all times. That's simply not the case. As you guys know, Joe Barry, I think, was in the top 5 in terms of snaps where they were playing single high coverage as opposed to 2 on the shelf. So yards per game, though, Jacob increased 1 spot there from number 5 to number 4 here. In terms of that, man, that's a great sign, especially seeing we expected a few more explosive plays with Jeff Hafley's defense as opposed to the Fangio-style Joe Barry defense, and it seems to have went in the opposite direction. Pretty cool.
Yeah. What's interesting, too, can you scroll back down towards or wait, I'm sorry. You're right. Go back up, if you will. Once again, look at the home versus away. 278.8 versus 347.6. That to me is quite impressive. And you look at that last one game, bro. That last game that we had, that would be against Philly, correct?
That's correct.
Look at that. We were by far, I think I only see one other team that had a better performance during that time was Baltimore, allowing 273. I mean, or Houston there as well as 227. It just, that was a tough game to lose for so many different reasons. And we've talked about how well, in my opinion, we did play, even though it kind of doesn't seem that way when you look at it on paper or when you look at the fact, obviously, that Philly won. It gives me a lot of hope because if you go into the end of the year and your defense starts turning it up, I just feel like that going into this year with some of the pieces we've added, again, like we talked about with Ja, if we can figure that out, the secondary guys that were amazing in year 1, taking that year 2 step. I think about Edgerrin Cooper, Evan Williams, even guys like Quay starting to come into their own because they have a guy like Coop next to him that frees that up. Who knows what's going to happen on that defensive line? I love our safety room, the depth. I think that right now you have all the reason to be optimistic about this Packers defense going into 2025.
Yeah, and Tim, you also add Nate Hobbs to the mix this year. Whether you think he's a good player or not, it's 100% proven that Goody, LaFleur, and Hafley think he's a great player, or else they wouldn't have given him the contract they did. So that should improve your secondary as well. Pretty cool, though, man. You're 4th in the league last year in yards per game allowed.
I think other than, obviously our talented young draft picks this year, I think probably Nate Hobbs is the guy I'm most looking forward to seeing out there on the field. we talked about Ja being in the mix, and if Ja's not in the mix, how is this secondary going to look? I think it's going to hinge on the way Nate Hobbs plays. If he can come in and be kind of an X factor and really step up in this defense, I mean, sky's the limit, man. We're going to have some major depth there. We're going to go from corner being a potential issue to, really one of our strongest position groups and the defensive side of the ball. So I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. If you guys would take a quick second, hit that like button for us. Feel free to sub to the channel if you're new here. Whenever you hit that like button, it helps boost the algorithm, helps other Packer fans find this channel. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us this evening. We got Rick Kruger in the house. Jacob's beard's extra shiny tonight. Look at that. You've been keeping up with that thing, ain't you, Jake? Good.
It's actually time for a trim. I'm starting to get people just handing me dollars while I'm sitting on the street. They're like, go get something to eat.
Are they handing you dollars on the street or in the office?
Yeah, well, it's to be fair. Yeah, I guess I do just get a lot of tips just in general.
There you go. All right. And obviously, Rick donated all the autographed cards, one of which we're going to be giving away this Saturday to our Patreon community. If you're not a member of our Patreon group, it's another perk there. We do giveaways throughout the year. This is a really cool one. If you could see it, an autographed Lucas Van Ness rookie card. So
nice.
Donated by Rick Kruger. So again, all you got to do is be a member of the $3 tier. That gets you entered into all the giveaways. Moving along here, defensive takeaways per game. You guys know how I feel about this. To me, it's the most important statistic outside of scoring. When it comes, I'm scared to look, Jacob.
Don't even do it, man. Don't even do it.
This is outside of the amount of points you give up. This right here is the most important stat you can have as a defense, in my opinion, and that's defensive team takeaways. Per game, we were 5th last year at 1.7, tied with Houston. Now, there's good and bad to this, right? The good news is that's why you were in so many games, right? It doesn't get much better than 1.7 takeaways per game. As a matter of fact, there was only the Philadelphia Eagles at 1.9, Minnesota 1.8, Pittsburgh 1.8, Buffalo 1.8 ahead of the Packers. Here's the other problem, though. It's going to be hard to duplicate that, Tim. Like, that's rare that happens, So when we talk about, you guys heard me give the full disclaimer the other day. Listen, if this defense takes a slight step back this year, I hope they improve. I hope they jump to number 1 in every statistical category. But the reality is history says that second year in a defense, like you mentioned earlier, Tim, they'll take a step back slightly. I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to duplicate this, but if they do, and we fix the turnover problem on offense, boy, oh boy, is it going to be a fun year.
Yep. Even if they kind of just maintain, those type of takeaways, right? Obviously, Xavier McKinney, a huge part of that with the, what did he have, like 5 or 6 games in a row with a pick or whatever that was to start the year.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the kind of start you want to have. So I think, as long as we continue to stress, playing the ball and being aggressive and, pick it, spill it all the time as a defense and going after the ball, I think they could probably, like you're saying, Clayton, I agree. I don't know if they can necessarily, even improve in the takeaway department. That would be incredible. But if they could kind of stay in that same range where we're aggressive, but we're not getting ourselves in trouble and we're still able to play fundamentally sound and create turnovers, I'm with it. I think they could probably maintain that level of play, especially with these new pieces that we have. So,
yeah.
One thing I'll say, Jacob, jumping from 1.1 takeaways per game last year to 1.7 this year, that would not have happened if we'd played all the man coverage that some of the media thought we were going to play. The fact that we were playing zone, we broke it down on Chalk Talk, and we'll get the interceptions here in a minute. I think all but 2 interceptions this year. Every interception other than 2, we were in zone defense. Those other 2, we were in man. So I think that played a huge role there as well. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would push back a little bit on y'all and think that I really do think we could possibly improve that just because I'll be honest, this metric blew my mind because it just didn't feel that we'd be 5th in the league in takeaways. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Tim said, I remember X absolutely starting the season off to a point where I was like, wow. I mean, you talk about a guy that immediately came in and made an absolute difference right away. It was almost like automatic. It's like, well, where's he going to get his pick? He's going to get one at some point in this game. I think when you look at, like you said, how tough it is to do that. I mean, even look at Philly going from 1.9 the year before, they were at one flat, 1.0. That almost increased a twofold there. You even look at Minnesota, same thing. They made a heck of an adjustment. Same with Pittsburgh, same with Buffalo, same with Houston, same with us. So I look at what could possibly make that number stay the same or even hopefully increase. I look at Edgerrin Cooper and how great he is in coverage. You highlighted that just a few episodes ago about how it's almost, again, a double-edged sword. This guy's so good at rushing the passer. He's so good at setting an edge. He's so good at evading blocks, and he's really good at coverage. So if he could just clone Edgerrin Cooper, I think this number would be quite outstanding. And then again, we've all talked about it quite a bit recently. If we get Ja back and that dude's firing and he's old school Ja, and you get a guy like X and Evan Williams and a few of these other guys that just have one more year in Hafley's system, feel like they're not maybe reacting as much and that they're being proactive, I'm telling you guys, I could see us being at the top of the charts. I really could.
Yeah. We got Emilio joining us now. Anything you want to add to the takeaways per game, Emilio? You want to move on to the next statistical category?
I love it. Love that we're turning it over, but we can move on.
All right. Very well said. Defensive team opponent interceptions thrown percentage. All right. So this is the percentage in which the opposing team throws interceptions. Fourth highest. We were at 2.90% of the opponent's throws were picked off by the Packers. That's a jump from 1.45% the previous year. Houston led the way at 3.76, Minnesota 3.61, Indianapolis 2.94, then Green Bay at 2.90, actually 2 spots ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles in that regard. So I like to cover that because, again, this is great and all, the takeaways per game and the interceptions per game, but when you get to the thrown percentage, the interception, percentage, that shows you just how efficient they were at taking the football away through the air. So,
yep, and it doesn't just speak on our secondary, right? It speaks on the pressure packages that we dial up front, right?
Tim, you're not allowed to compliment the pass rush, Tim.
I'm going to say it. Pressure pick, coverage sack, right? We talk about it all the time.
That's
and
right.
a lot of that was, Rashawn occupying double teams, somebody else getting pressure to the quarterback. Ball's got to come out early or in a panic. You end up getting a pick. It's just how the game is played, man. Sometimes, you can even look at some of the picks that McKinney had. There were balls that were just right in his lap, and it's basically because of the other 10 guys on that defense doing their job, and it makes it look easy for some of these guys picking the ball off when you're playing well as a unit. So, compliments to our secondary, obviously, but I think our linebackers and our DNs and tackles did a damn good job last year.
Yeah.
Tim, could you see a situation where this metric improves specifically because you've got obviously guys like Gary, maybe LVN takes a step, but we have all of a sudden a designated pass rusher by the name of Colin Oliver, who is an absolute bendy freak. You know what I mean? All of a sudden we start sending that guy on second and long, third and longs, and I think that number might increase a bit. I
agree. I think especially when you look at it from that perspective, we talk about our safeties and our corners, but, we've got some depth now at edge. We've got depth at linebacker. It's going to be exciting. I think you're right. I think there is a possibility we could actually see ourselves maybe move up second, third on that list here in the interceptions thrown percentage. So it'll be fun to watch.
And to that point, Tim, look at the jump from last year, 2023. There, we were 1.45%, literally doubled our number.
Yep.
In that, and I love that. Hafley's kind of bringing that mentality, and even in the last 3, 2.313, not terrible. In the last one, that double zero is tough. That kind of pops your eye. We didn't get a turnover there. It's something that you kind of need to chase. If you don't win that turnover differential, it's not going to happen for you. So
took the ball away on the road pretty well there too,
yep.
Right? At 3.18. So they actually intercepted the ball better on the road than they did at home. All right, moving on to opponent fumbles per game. And, I got to be honest with you, I don't lean on this a whole lot because most of the time a fumble is because the other team was careless with the football most of the time. Although that Evan Williams, when he punched the ball, I can't remember who they were playing, where he just literally drew back like Muhammad Ali and knocked that ball out. That's one of my favorite plays of the year. But nonetheless,
Coop had a good one too.
Yeah.
Fabio.
That's right.
What do you call that? The Peanut Tillman punch, right?
Yeah. The peanut punch was, I guess it's all under the same the same kind of category. It was just Evan Williams was squared the dude up like a box.
Yeah.
Knocked it out, right? I used to love what Charles Woodson would do, and not many defenders can do this. He would do the rake, right? Like when he would go to tackle, he would grab with the left hand and then punch with the right as he's tackling, right? That was another effective way of doing it. When I think of the peanut punch, so I think of him coming in from the side or maybe from behind and popping that ball out, although I'm sure he did it from the front as well. Shut up, Jake. So fumbles per game, we finished tied for fourth at 1.4, all right? Last year, only 0.8 was the number. So, again, you've seen another improvement. And, again, Emilio, this is what we talked about with Jeff Hafley coming onto the scene. Attack the football, right?
Yeah, always come downhill. I mean, if you're going to make the mistake, make it at 100%. And forcing those turnovers. I mean, yeah, we had a couple of games where you had a few of them, right? Maybe that skews your numbers a touch. But still, the consistency throughout the year, it wasn't like – I mean, X dropped off, right? He didn't keep getting his picks, but everybody else still ended up getting them. You know, the team itself still ended up turning that ball over. Being tied for fourth is, you know, in a league of 32 is perfect. Like I said, keep us under 10, ideally under 5, and we're in good shape.
The only chat I'm able to put on the screen right now is Holmes MD1, who said the chat is an unfettered disaster. And I completely agree with that. Jake, if anything you want to add to the fumble talk here, then we'll get to 10.
Yeah. You know, like I said, again, it's another metric where it just didn't feel as if it would be a top 5 defensive team in that metric because, you know, we get so kind of tunnel vision, I think, of worrying about, you know, what our record is, that the score is, did we win the bowl, did we get to the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. It's tough because we need to take a step back and realize, like, man, we really – I mean, Jeff Hafley, in my opinion, outperformed my wildest expectations for year one. I think it's fair to say that if you're being kind of an objective Packer fan. To me, like, I really, even my wildest dreams, I didn't think we'd be a top 5 defense. And I think that quite clearly we were a top 5 defense almost in most metrics that, again, I did not expect. So another thing, I just really do think that we can improve because we've got so many dudes that are champing at the bit to get in there. Between Hopper, guys we don't even know about yet still, you know, guys like Hopper that we're like, that's a big question mark as to what he could be. Even some of like the free agent signings that we had, is it Isaiah Simmons or whatever it was? Who knows? He could all of a sudden produce a little catalyst for us. And I'm just excited. Think about guys like Kalen King, dude, who supposedly is showing out. Guys like Bullard could take a step. You know, I mean, we just really have an ability that if even 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys click and make a drastic improvement, that defensive stock to me is going way up. Don't talk about stocks, guys.
Oh, Lord of mercy. You had to bring that up. Go ahead, Tim. Anything else you want to add to fumble?
I agree with what you said at the top there, Clayton. You know, that a lot of times fumbles are just guys coughing the ball up or being careless. But forced fumbles are one of the most exciting plays on the defensive side of the ball. I love seeing that. And I think in a lot of years past, we would see our guys getting after it, punch the ball out, and then we're not recovering the football, you know? And I think last year, maybe even the year before in Joe Barry's last season, we started to kind of clean that up. And you saw, you know, fat guys fall on it, skinny guys pick it up, guys rallying to the ball carrier and to the football. So I love the fumble stat. I hope we continue to improve in that department, especially in the ones that we're actually causing, you know, not just the occasional rainy or snowy day where a guy's just, you know, loses control of the ball, but actually going in there and ripping that ball out, forcing that fumble.
Yeah. AFAM in the chat says AFAM stock is always hot. AFAM, you got to be careful talking stocks here. I had a YouTube comment that told me we were too political. And I said, how are we being political? He's like, come on, man. You know what you were doing with the stock market comment. I'm like, we're not allowed.
That would be a financial.
We're not allowed to be
economic.
Happy.
Yeah, economic talk, not political talk.
We're not allowed to be happy that the stock market's up now. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, what are we even? Okay, let's be miserable together. Defensive team opponent yards per rush attempt. This was the big one for me. And again, this one means a little more to me because, guys, I'm still battered and scarred from this past year on social media, trying to convince people, guys, I know the pass rush doesn't look great, but look what they're doing to the run. Look how watch the tape, watch the box cam. Look how they're playing each snap. They're not pinning their ears back and going after the quarterback. They're playing the run first. You could see it all over the tape. You could see it with the touch spy. You could see the way the edge defenders didn't get 8 yards up the field like we did against Tommy Cutlets, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was everything was playing under control and trying to compress the pocket while containing the run. As you can see here, we literally went from 4.5 yards per rush attempt allowed in 2023 to 4, tied for second best in the league with Denver, only behind Baltimore. We legit had the second best run defense in the entire National Football League. And again, do I wish the pass rush would have been better? Yeah, I do. But when I turned on the tape, when we did Chalk Talk every week, I was looking at it going, oh, we're stopping the damn run. This is exciting. How long as Packer fans did we go, God, I wish we could just stop the run?
A long time.
Yeah. It's just like every single – and by the way, Rashawn Gary he was the best run defender on our team last year. That's name wasn't Edgerrin Cooper. And some people will look at the PFF stats and go, I don't give a damn what PFF says. You turn on the tape and you look at the run stops. Rashawn Gary led the entire defensive line in run stops as an edge defender. In some cases, coming across the formation and making the tackle short of the third down or the first down marker on third down. He was a dog in the run game. And you could tell, imagine as a player that your coach is behind the scenes coaching you up and you know the scheme. Emilio, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Your coach is going, hey, guys, don't get too aggressive. Let's make sure we stop the run. Make sure you don't lose gap integrity. Make sure you're rallying to the ball on the backside. You can't do that if you're 7 yards in the backfield because you got too aggressive on the run or against the pass. Imagine you're being coached to do that, and then everyone on social media is roasting you like you're a bum. All of a sudden, you don't know how to rush the quarterback.
Right.
And the fact that they didn't complain all year, they didn't fire back at fans, I think it's absolutely awesome. And this statistic right here is just through the roof.
Because all we remember talking about is getting gashed by the run. You talk about all right, he's 10 yards off on a pass, on a third down, whatever. Like, I really, as long as we're not getting gashed up and down the field, I mean, that's just going to take the wind out of you. It's going to keep the defense on the field longer. It's going to, hinder your offense. Not getting gashed on the run is key to, I think, morale and, defense structure as a whole.